Hello and welcome to Moneylife. This is Sucheta Dilal. This week I'm going to talk about our money that's locked up with various regulators. I don't specifically mean your money and my money, but people like us, which is public money, not government money, does not belong to states, does not belong to the central government. It is ordinary people like us who have bank accounts, money in pension, which has not got claimed. Now, why would you not claim money that belongs to you? Possibly because A, you're no longer alive, your heirs have no idea where it is. This is an issue that I have been going on and on about for the last 3 years. Why am I talking about it today? Because there's a new development and a new number. Do you have any idea how much this money has ballooned to now? So, when I first wrote about it, I thought 82,000 crore was a staggering number. It went up to over 2 lakh crore. Now, according to activist entrepreneur Akash Goel, it's 3.5 lakh crore. Just think about what this money means to people that it actually belongs to. And here's a story. Okay. A few months ago, a top Reserve Bank of India official told me that the staggering volume of unclaimed money lying in dormant accounts with various regulators and Indian banks is because people don't want to collect the money. Why? Apparently, the amounts are too small. Very little of it is over 1 lakh rupees. Apparently, everything is just a few thousand. Now, India is such a poor country. I doubt if you could easily get your money back, people are going to let go of even 1,000 rupees, let alone 3.5 lakh crore, right? But this is what the RBI seems to believe. So, big surprise that suddenly last week, the finance minister took charge of this issue and launched a nationwide drive called Aapki Poonji, Aapka Adhikar, or Your Money, Your Right. This was on 4th October. Question is, what jolted the government awake, and have has the government made any genuine systemic change to get access to that money? Nirmala Sitaraman has described this as three A's strategy of awareness, accessibility, and action. This drive, okay, which is the guiding principle behind the campaign to return our money to us, right? But my question is, how is it going to happen in a meaningful way unless you make it easy for us to get hold of that money? And before getting a hold of that money, even knowing that something that you inherited, or maybe a deceased parent or relative where you may be a direct legal heir, has actually left money. It could even be an account that you've forgotten about because you're in a transferable service. This happened to a former governor of the Reserve Bank of India. He got transferred from one state to another, and his home state, they found for him two bank accounts which had over 10,000 rupees each. Now he's lucky. This kind of work is never going to be done for you and me. So it's possible that you have a bank account where there's money lying. It's gone dormant after 10 years. Then it's moved into the Reserve Bank of India's Depositor Education and Awareness Fund. Or if you have shares, they've gone into the Investor Education and Awareness Fund. And you have no idea what a nightmare it is to try and get your money back from there. This time, the finance minister says they have simplified digital tools that will make it easier for us to trace unclaimed funds. We have no idea what that is, but the campaign has already been launched. So, will it genuinely lead to us or other rightful claimants being reunited with their money? Or is this a way for the government to say, hey, look, nobody wants this money, and it goes into the treasury? It's a possibility, okay? And unless all of us wake up and say simplify systems so that we know whether we have money there that's due to us, this money could go. And this is not the government's money to touch, but it's already being spent for education and awareness campaigns where huge amounts of money is going to brand ambassadors like Amitabh Bachchan, which is what RBI uses. Our money, right? But we can't access it, while IEPF will have ads during cricket matches, you will have brand ambassadors, but access is impossible. Now, this is not starting today. Let me narrate to you how long it's going on. Consider these facts. Since 2021, plenty of media have reported the staggering sums of public money, bank deposits, shares, bonds, insurance, pension, which is lying unclaimed with various government agencies. In 2022, I filed a petition in the Supreme Court, thanks to the help of Senior Counsel Prashant Bhushan, saying we need to create a centralized platform to make this information accessible to us, because you can't claim unless you know it's there. I've written about it. Here's a link. At that time, remember the money, 2022, not such a long time ago. At that time, RBI's Depositor Education Fund had 39,000 crore, which seemed like a big number to us. Do you know how much it's gone up to today? 78,000 crore plus in the last annual report. Now, in 2023, you remember the Supreme Court had appointed a committee of eminent people to look at the runaway surge in Adani Group share prices. Strangely enough, their mandate was also to suggest things to be done to improve the market. And they took this report, a white paper that I had written, and endorsed the idea of creating a central authority for unclaimed assets. Nothing happened, even though it was a Supreme Court appointed committee. The Adani Group got a clean sheet, and the rest of the report was just completely forgotten. That's how it works in India. Then in August 2024, Moneylife Foundation did a detailed study where we now estimated that the amount had gone to 2 lakh crore, which is lying locked up with various regulators. We're showing you a link to that study. Now, in response to my PIL in 22, the Reserve Bank of India had told the Supreme Court that it had launched its own portal called Udgam, Unclaimed Deposits Gateway to Access Information. This was launched in August 2023, now covers all banks. But it is very difficult to know whether anyone you know from whom you stand to inherit or your own money is actually there, because they have made the search extremely difficult. And that's why this platform has not seen much of a success, because you cannot identify unclaimed deposits in the first place. This logic is self defeating, because people who have lost track of account details or whose relatives have passed away are precisely those who cannot navigate rigid systems. So, we have repeatedly told the RBI that please introduce what is called a Boolean search. What does the search do? It has a combination of keywords using and or not, which makes it more flexible and allows you to know whether there's a possibility that your account may be among those that are unclaimed. Remember, this is not as though you get the money. The verification process starts afterwards. If you think, yes, this S. Dalal is me, I then have to prove that that is me, that I had a bank account, or someone I know that I should inherit from had a bank account. This is a long verification process, so there's nothing to worry about in making the search easy. But no, it's over 2 years. RBI does not listen to us. So things are now beginning to change or percolate. They have recently announced, and I'm talking about 4 days ago, in the beginning of October, a series of changes. This time around, RBI has decided to incentivize banks, part of this campaign, to locate claimants. So the scheme is going to go on for 1 year. Banks will now get a percentage of the funds that they successfully refund, depending on how long the funds were lying dormant. So there are four slabs. Lowest is 5% of 5,000, whichever is lower. So if RBI really says amounts are 2,000 and 5,000, but anyway, it's an incentive. It goes up to 7.5% or 25,000 for amounts that have been lying dormant for over 10 years. Frankly, too high an amount, but let's see if that works. But it's not enough, according to me, to incentivize banks. How about making it easy for me as a public person to make a claim? No, that's not happening. So, while this sounds promising, it shows that RBI prefers to depend on banks to trace claimants rather than to empower us, the citizens, to claim our own money. And Then again, this is not the first campaign to trace rightful claimants. After we have gone to court, the government has been banging away trying to say that yes, we are interested in returning your money. So in 2023, the RBI ran a widely publicized campaign called 100 Days, 100 Pays. 31 banks were involved and they were supposed to trace claimants of unclaimed funds. At the end of March 2023, unclaimed deposits had stood at 42,270 crores after this campaign. Do you know how much was actually paid out? A minuscule 1,433 crore actually went to rightful claimants. That's the small number that was traced. So, my question again, why is it going to be different this time without drastic changes? Yeah, you're incentivizing banks. They didn't work last time. Is this 5% or whatever good enough? We'll wait and watch. But as I said repeatedly, unclaimed funds have now touched 78,000 crore with RBI's DEF alone. We're not talking about IEPF, pensions, and these are DEF has money which first lies dormant for 10 years, then gets transferred. So for the 78,000 crore that has transferred to DEF, there is over 1 lakh crore that is lying in dormant accounts. So it's a bureaucratic black hole. And it's the same when it comes to shares, dividends, bonds, interest lying with the Investor Education and Protection Fund. The process is a bureaucratic nightmare. They've created an IPF authority which rules over it, headed by retired bureaucrats who are insulated from public feedback, they don't care, and they routinely promise reforms that don't materialize. As of this moment, also, there's another promise. They say later this month they're going to roll out an integrated claims portal to speed up the transfer of unclaimed funds. Remember, RBI has Udgam, IEPF has a bad portal, which they're admitting is bad. They say now it will be better when there are any number of complaints about how it's nightmarish. This news report is very interestingly timed. It comes just before the Supreme Court was to hear a second public interest litigation on the same issue of unclaimed funds. I'm going to come to that later. But let's be fair, it's not as though there's been no progress at all on various funds that we have been fighting. One genuinely positive move has been that on 26th September 2025, RBI introduced settlement of claims in respect of deceased customers of banks. These are directions that they issued, which finally standardizes the claims procedures across banks. The new rules mandate uniform forms, online submission facilities, defined timelines, and even penalties for delays. This is what we've been asking. SOPs or standard operating procedures. It has taken so long for it to get into the head of RBI, and frankly, it may have only happened because the Securities and Exchange Board of India has taken the lead on this for transmission of shares and other assets. And this was introduced almost a year back with a time bound framework for transmission. On other fronts, RBI has remained inconsistent. Case in point is KYC. So RBI issued a draft circular. We were very excited about it. It talked about a moratorium on freezing accounts for 1 year. When the final circular came, this 1 year moratorium was forgotten and they did some tinkering. So a lot of things that are promised this time are being looked at. Whether they actually get into action and a master circular or not, or directions, we don't know. There have been a flood of announcements, all sound pro consumer. We, as always, are hopeful and delighted. They plan to overhaul the banking ombudsman scheme, expand the powers of internal ombudsman with banks, and even explore a uniform compensation policy for grievances resolved after a complaint. Like I said, banks will kick back and say, no, it's too tough. RBI may dilute, or will it stand tough? If it does, good for it. We're waiting and watching. But remember, the banking ombudsman scheme has always been tinkered with. It was launched in 2006. This is the fifth time it's being revised. 2021 was the big revision. They merged three different schemes, one the basic banking scheme, one covering non-banking finance companies and digital payments. Now, after 2021, we were told that it's now perfect. Less than 3 years later, they admit that it's not working and it's again going to be overhauled. And we said in 2021 that no, it's not good enough. They didn't listen. So, will 2025 or maybe it spills to 26, will that be good enough? We'll wait and watch. This brings us back to the sudden drive on unclaimed funds that continue to rise relentlessly every year. Why now? That's my question that I started with. My PIL was filed in 2022. It keeps going from one tariq to another, one date to another without an actual hearing most of the time. Now, activist businessman Akash Goel has filed another petition. He's asked the same Supreme Court to have a comprehensive legal institutional framework to track and return 3.5 lakh crore. That's his RTI filings and research, and the number has ballooned to that much, right? The Supreme Court has very kindly issued notices to all concerned, all regulators, finance ministry, whatever. Notice the sums lying dormant, which are already staggering, have doubled in the past 3 years, thanks to Mr. Goel's research and data. His petition came up for hearing on 6th October. Very significant, right? This drive. Especially because he tells me that he filed the PIL after having gone to the Delhi High Court with the similar PIL and having held discussions with finance ministry officials which did not yield any results. So, the unanswered question: will this new government campaign succeed when previous efforts have failed? The incentives for banks may certainly help recover a small fraction of this vast pool of money that's impounded. But unless the RBI and other regulators simplify access to their databases, the impact will be negligible. Ironically, regulators cite fear of fraud for not allowing access. But like I said, this has only made it difficult. You have a verifications process, and it has spawned a thriving market of agents who scrape official databases, who have connections with government officials, and for a hefty fee, sometimes a big percentage, they use privileged access and they alone are able to recover your money for you. The FM has told us every rupee saved by the citizens must return to them or their families. Yes, this is what all good countries have said and created systems to ensure that. But not in India. Without addressing core issues, opaque systems, lack of coordination, and refusal to share information across regulators, we will have only slogans and no genuine action. But like I say again, this is our money. Wake up. Otherwise, it will just be taken over by the treasury. They'll give you some lofty things that they're going to do with it, build infrastructure, maybe another airport, maybe another huge road. But it's our money. We pay taxes for the rest of the infrastructure. Think about it, and if you agree, please make a noise about it. And of course, subscribe to this channel. Thank you.